Hello, BookTube. Today I'm going to be doing the Life Studies tag. This tag was created by Book Time with Elvis, and I saw this originally on Steve Donahue's channel, and I will leave links to both videos down below. So this this tag is about biographies and autobiographies and reading of them. So question number 1. Do you have a preference for biography or autobiography? Biography. I prefer biography. I'm not entirely sure why, but I think biographies, for the most part, do a better job of interpreting a life than an autobiography does. On the whole, there are times when that is most certainly not the case, but for the most part, I think a biography, somebody else interpreting a life, can sometimes see things that the individual writing their own life won't see, or chooses not to see. Question number 2. Do you gravitate towards a specific area, like sport, celebrity, history? I prefer historical biographies. Biographies of historically important personages. Example being Alexander the Great. I have 4 biographies of him, and will likely get more because I have a weird obsession with him. I think, have a bit of a sweet tooth for literary biographies and cultural biographies. Although I haven't really read as much or as deeply as I would like. But for the most part, it is historical or history-oriented biography. Question number 3. Have you ever read the life story of someone and in doing so changed your opinion of them for better or worse? Example. Yes. I read about 2 years ago a biography of Prince Charles. It's Prince Charles, The Passion and Paradox of an Improbable Life by Sally Bedell Smith, which completely changed my opinion of Prince Charles, and really increased my sympathy for him. That I think he has been done quite dirty by the media. Question number 4. Must you always know who the person is before picking up their life story? No. I don't. For example, I read about 2 years ago, 2 years ago in November, a biography of Charles Schulz, Schulz and Peanuts by David Michaelis, and I didn't know much about Charles Schulz, except for he wrote Peanuts, or he was the creator of Peanuts, and which is a comic strip that I quite liked when I was younger. And yeah, I went in practically blind. Again, just last year I read The Secret History of Wonder Woman by Joe Lepore, which is a biography primarily of William Moulton Marston, and also of his wife and his companion, and I didn't know anything about them, and so yeah. Question number 5. Have you ever met someone whose autobiography you've read? No. Most of the people who I've never met anyone who I've read before I've met them, their autobiography or biography, or afterwards, or however that works. Most of the people whom I read biographies of, they're usually dead, except for Elton John, and I've never met him. So, yeah. But generally, I've never met anybody famous enough to warrant biography or autobiography. Question number 6. What do you think about books that are described as semi-autobiographical? For this question, I'm going to make the same assumption that Steve Donahue made, in that we're talking about fiction that is inspired by the writer's own biography. And in that situation, I'm not as opposed to it as Steve is, although that could be because I don't really read as widely in contemporary fiction as he does. I mean, obviously I have had for quite a while a very unsettled relationship with general fiction, so I don't try to read as much of it as I can. Not that I always hold, but anyway. But I think if a writer wants to incorporate some elements of their life in their fiction, I think that's okay. Although sometimes if it's like practically you're writing a completely factual memoir or autobiography, you really should just dispense with the fiction and write a memoir or autobiography. Even though, from what I can gather, that kind of personal nonfiction writing is rather difficult to sell sometimes. So maybe the assumption is writing a fictionalized version, no matter how lightly fictionalized, is better than just coming in completely nonfiction. Yeah. Okay, number 7, or question number 7. Give an example of a life story that really surprised you. I'm going to go for this one, I think, the biography of Agatha Christie. It's Agatha Christie, A Mysterious Life by Laura Thompson. That biography really surprised me. In how sometimes her personal life kind of affected her writing. Also, how conscious she was of the business of writing, of her obsession with taxes and making a success of her writing. Question number 8. What biographies, autobiographies, memoirs, etc. are currently on your TBR? Right now, I'm planning on reading at some point, hopefully in April or May, depending on my reading schedule. I'm hoping to get to Philip and Alexander by Adrian Goldsworthy. This is a dual biography of Philip and his son Alexander, even though it's more than likely going to be more Alexander than Philip, as it usually is. Let me see. There's one. Okay, no, so this one I'm also going to do some biographies that I'm looking forward to. So Steve mentioned in his video that there are 2 biographies of British monarchs coming out in the next few months. And they are The Queen, which is a biography of Elizabeth II by Matthew Dennison, and The Last King of America, The Misunderstood Reign of George III by Andrew Roberts, which I'm looking forward to both. Not necessarily the price of either one. And coming up early next year, there's a biography of Maria Theresa. Maria Theresa, the Habsburg Empress in Her Time by Barbara Stolberg-Rillinger, which I'm fully hoping to use a Prince and Soul to get. Hoping. Yeah, that I am positively wanting. And I thought it was going to come out this year, but it's not. It comes out in January of next year. So, yeah. Question number 9. Whose life story did you find particularly hard-going, either emotionally difficult to read or very boring? For this one, I'm going to go with 2 biographies of Robert E. Howard. Dark Valley Destiny by L. Sprague de Camp and Blood and Thunder by Mark Finn. So, in Dark Valley Destiny, L. Sprague de Camp does his hardest to make Robert E. Howard a psychological mess and ultimately ruined his reputation. And it is quite hard going. And I think in a way, Blood and Thunder does attempt to sort of rescue Robert E. Howard from that psychoanalytic reading that L. Sprague de Camp imposes on him, but it's also a bit not as well written, which is annoying. Question number 10. Is there anyone you know personally who you feel should have their life story written down? No. Not personally, anyway. Question number 11. Have you read any diaries or collections of letters? If so, which ones did you find interesting? I've only read one collection of letters, and a very small selection. Excuse me. When I was in college, I took a course on 18th century travel writing, and one of the texts we read were a selection of letters by Lady Mary Wortley Montagu during her time in Istanbul, and her letters are a blast. She is a fantastic letter writer, and out of the many books I regret having gotten rid of over the years, the collection of her letters that I had is one of them that I most regret having gotten rid of. And finally, question number 12. What are a few life story books you would recommend to us to read? Okay, yeah, that makes it. I think when it comes to recommendations, I'm going to punt on this one, in part because obviously what I find interesting isn't likely to be what anybody else finds interesting. Generally, like if you don't naturally read biography, fine, and you are interested or curious in reading biography and autobiography, what subjects interest you? What kinds of music do you like? Film, sport, whatever. And look for biographies of figures in those arenas, or people of whom you're fans of. If you like music, and particularly pop music, Me by Elton John would be a really good place to start. Or if you're interested in comics, comic books, The Secret Life of Wonder Woman by Joel Lepore is a fantastic biography of the creator and inspirations for Wonder Woman. And obviously there's a biography of Stan Lee or two, and so on and so forth. I know there's not a 13th question in which it asks to tag anybody, but if you would like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. And I will sign off for now. I'm kind of, it's rather later than I like to film these videos, and so I'm going to go ahead and get some writing done, and I will see you tomorrow with another tag, because there are 2 that I probably want to do, and then of course on Wednesday, on Friday there will be weekly reads. So until tomorrow, BookTube, thank you, have a great evening, and stay safe.